Asato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityurma amritam gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om, lead us from the unreal to the real, lead us from darkness unto light, lead us from death to immortality. Om, peace, peace, peace. Dear friends, it's great to be back. Some of you were here last time I was here a couple of years ago, and there's a lot of new faces also. I'm particularly grateful to the Vedanta Center of Greater Austin, to the whole team there, where I see some new faces also. It's very nice to see, for putting this together and inviting me for this talk. I'm also very grateful to the church here for providing this beautiful space all over again. And as Richard just said, we are friends now. Thank you, Richard. The subject today was just announced like a city in a mirror. Some of you may know that it's a reference to the Dakshinamurti Stotram. So what is that and what am I going to speak about? Vedanta, as we know, is the spiritual philosophy based on the Upanishads. And the Upanishads are sort of the highest final teachings of the Vedas. And the Vedas are the most ancient living scriptures in the world today. They are the foundation of Hinduism. We used to memorize as brahmacharis, as novice monks, the definition of Vedanta. Vedanta nama Upanishad pramanam, which is Sanskrit for Vedanta is verily the source of spiritual knowledge called the Upanishads. Now these Upanishads have been interpreted variously, giving rise to multiple schools of Vedanta. And among them prominent is Adi Shankaracharya, the interpreters, who lived about, according to modern historians, about 1300 years ago. I know there is some debates about the date, but this is what we studied in school when we were in India, about 1300 years ago. And he wrote these commentaries in Sanskrit called Bhashya, commentaries on the Upanishads, and commentaries on another very difficult text called the Brahma Sutras, the Sutras on Brahman, the ultimate reality, and also a commentary on the Bhagavad Gita. But plenty of independent works where he was not commenting on the Upanishads or the Brahma Sutra or the Bhagavad Gita, independent works. But the message is always the same. The teaching is always the same. Among the independent works is this short work called the Dakshinamurti Stotra, which means a hymn to the south-facing Shiva. It's a hymn to Shiva. Here Shiva is the ultimate reality. It's exactly the same which he says when in his very famous 6 stanzas on Nirvana. Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham. I am of the nature of bliss. I am of the nature of consciousness. I am Shiva. I am Shiva. In that sense, Shiva. But also as the deity Shiva, as God, as Shiva. South-facing in the sense of grace. Kripa. What kind of grace? A special kind of grace here. The grace which is the teaching, the knowledge, which is the saving knowledge, the liberating knowledge, the enlightening knowledge, the knowledge of our non-dual reality. That we are non-dual consciousness, right now, right here, forever, untouched by whatever has happened to us in our lives, whatever may happen. That non-dual reality is pointed out, and if we were to realize this knowledge, make it a living reality, we would be free of samsara, we would be free of suffering, we would attain to fulfillment. Just basically the message of Vedanta, Advaita Vedanta. This message is embodied, is given by Dakshinamurti Shiva. So this is the idea, that Shiva incarnates as Guru. Who's Guru? Our Guru. Whichever tradition we are in. So Guru is an embodiment of the south-facing Shiva, of God in the form of grace, giving this liberating knowledge. So this liberating knowledge comes to us from the Guru. In technical language, Dakshinamurti Shiva as the Lord of the universe is Paroksha. Paroksha means beyond our actual experience right now. It's something that we believe in, which we have been told, God in heaven. So it's something that we believe in. It's not something you're seeing right now. But the Guru is pratyaksha. Guru is somebody you see right now. Right? You're seeing the Guru right now. So, that same liberating knowledge present as the Guru, which comes from Shiva, that one I bow down to. So that is the meaning of the whole Dakshinamurti stotra. Salutations to that Guru. That's why the refrain in the hymn, in the stanzas, Tasmai Shri Guru Murtai Namaidam Shri Dakshinamurtai. It contains the essence of Advaita Vedanta. Just in case I forget, later on in that hymn, I will just take up one stanza. It's a beautiful work of philosophical poetry. 10 stanzas. I know many Hindus actually chant this daily. So they chant it along with some other invocatory verses which are not part of the original Dakshinamurti Stotra composed by Shankaracharya. The one composed by Shankaracharya is, according to some versions, 8 stanzas, according to others, 10 stanzas. Now, in the original version composed by Shankaracharya, I'll take up just the first stanza, which is remarkable, even in a very remarkable work. The first stanza itself is sublime. So we'll talk about that today. That's where the city in the mirror comes up. But as we go through the Dakshinamurti Stotra, later on, there is a reference to mudraya bhadraya. So Shiva, facing the south, teaching the disciples, teaches through a mudra. Mudra means hand gestures. So we use these mudras in puja, in worship. They have esoteric significance. But here we are talking about one particular mudra. So if you see the depiction, the iconography of Shiva is like this, is teaching like this. 3 fingers here, then these 2 fingers together. This is known as the Chin mudra or Jnana mudra, the mudra of expressing pure consciousness or the mudra expressing enlightenment. Mudra expressing pure consciousness in the sense it expresses the ultimate reality. How? We'll talk about it. Mudra expressing knowledge, the liberating knowledge. Then it expresses teaching that ultimate reality. So both meanings are given here. How does this teach anything? What does this mean? This will immediately make sense for people who have been in Vedanta for a long time. It sort of summarizes the whole teaching of the Vedanta. So, what do we think or know about ourselves? Vedanta is telling us your limitless awareness right now. And that's not how we look at ourselves at all. It sounds cool. It sounds nice. You feel, I wish it were true. But it doesn't seem real. Then what does seem real? What does seem real about us when we say, who are you or what are you? What seems real to us? Well, I am this. Here. This person. Well, what is this person? Well, it's a body. Here is a body, a physical body, flesh and blood and bone and so on. Organs, tissues, cells, living body. And also, there is something called a subtle body. You say, says who? Physical body nobody denies because it's obvious. But subtle body is also very obvious. Each of us in these physical bodies, when we look inside, we find thoughts, emotions, ideas, memories, sense of ego. What we call a person. I'm a person. I'm not just a mass of flesh and blood. I'm a person. I have a mind and emotions and memory and personality. So that one is the subtle body. Sukshma Sharira. At least subtle body, that's a part of the subtle body. And then going further, there is something which we do not talk about or take into account. There is something called a causal body, not casual, causal. I'm translating the Sanskrit words, Sthula Sharira, physical body. In all our books which were written in 1930s, 40s, the translations by the early Swamis of the order, translations of the Upanishads and Vedanta texts into English. It's always been translated as gross body. But gross means something else in America now. Gross means ugly, awful, mess. So physical body, what it means, Sthula Sharira, physical body. And then Sukshma Sharira, subtle body. And then Karana Sharira, which is the causal body, which is what we experience in, say, deep sleep. But suppose you shut down everything. You're not looking at the world, you're not experiencing the body, you've fallen asleep, you've stopped dreaming, just blank. But still you are. After all, then how do you come back? If you were not there, you still come back when you wake up. So in that dormant state, that is an indication of the causal body, Karana Sharira. So these three fingers, the smallest one actually represents the physical body. A wider and bigger one represents the subtle body. Even wider and deeper one represents the causal body. And normally we are associated. I, who am I? I am these three. Here, just what I said just now. Here I am. What I'm saying is these three, I am. I am these three. Vedanta is telling us you are not the physical body, not the subtle body, not the causal body. You are not these three. They are there. They're very much there. But you are not them. Who are you then? Apart from them, the witness of them, the experiencer of them, the illuminer, the one which gives existence and awareness to all of them and to the external world, that pure consciousness, that awareness, that being, existence awareness, in Sanskrit, Sat Chit, that you are, Tattvamasi. So this is the meaning of the Jnana Mudra, the mudra expressing enlightening knowledge, or the mudra expressing pure consciousness, Chin Mudra. And Dakshinamurti is supposed to teach, not giving lectures like this, not on YouTube, just this. And Shankaracharya beautifully says, the teaching is given in silence, and the doubts of the disciples are dispelled. Shishyastu chinna samshaya, maunam vyakhyanam. Silent is the teaching, and all the doubts of just the opposite of the human guru, where the teaching is loud noises and long lectures, and doubts keep on increasing, confusion keeps on increasing. So Sishyastu chinna samshaya, all the doubts of the disciples are dispelled. And goes further, Shankaracharya says, Guru Yuva, the Guru is young and the disciples are old. Just clearly he's talking about his own experience. He was 16 years old. And I think all of the disciples, barring one, Hastamalaka, everybody else was older than him. Anyway, so this is one takeaway. If you want to remember, what was the teaching? What was it all about? This. I am not the subtle physical body, subtle body, causal body, and all that it implies. I am pure consciousness. But this has to be explained and understood and experienced, and the results of it have to be experienced. That's spirituality. From a non-dual, there's a non-dual spirituality. All right. Now I'm going to jump into it. Do we, at the end of this, we have a Q&A? Yeah, we have a Q&A. Good. The first verse is sublime, beautiful, unforgettable. I'll recite the first verse and translate, and then we will dive into it. We'll try to absorb what it teaches. Vishwam darpana drishyamana nagari tulyam nijantargatam pashyannatmani mayaya bahirivodbhutam yatha nidraya yasakshat kurute prabodha samaye svatmanamevadvayam tasmai shri gurumurtaye namaidam shri dakshinamurtaye. Beautiful poetry, and packing in all the essential features of Advaita Vedanta. What does it mean? It starts off in a very high tone. It says, this universe, what you experience, this entire universe which we experience, is like a city seen in a mirror. Like a city seen in a mirror. What it means is, it's particularly evocative for me because I remember this childhood experience. I grew up in an eastern side of India, on the eastern coast of India, in a state called Odisha. So, as kids, when our dad would drive us from the city called Cuttack to Bhubaneswar, or Bhubaneswar to Cuttack, a few times I have noticed in the dark. Nowadays those roads are all well lit up. But in the dark, as the car approached the city, Sometimes you would see the lights of the city glittering in the driving mirror. You get the imagery of it. So, you can see the mirror and the city is somewhere there on that side. You can see the city in the mirror. Just now we were driving here and I was trying to see the city. I was trying to see Austin in the mirror. I mean, you could see it. You could see the power lines and the street and the sky and the clouds. You could see it in the side mirrors. And Shankaracharya is saying the universe is like that. The whole universe is like a city seen in a mirror. So just imagine, I somehow found it fascinating. And when I grew up years later and I read the Dakshinamurti Stotra, I was so startled to see that this imagery, this experience which I had as a little kid, that's so profound. That's so profound. The city seen in a mirror. Now, what's the mirror here and what's the city? We will see as we go along. But basically the mirror is you. You as pure consciousness, as awareness, you are the mirror. And what's the city? The universe, whatever you experience, including your body, including our minds and thoughts, personalities, all of that is the city seen in the mirror. Now, one thing immediately one must keep in mind here. When you give the city in the mirror example, immediately what is in our mind is, of course, there is a city outside and you can see the city in the mirror. There is the Bhuvaneshwar outside, and when you're a kid driving there with your dad, that city which was outside was reflected in the mirror. Of course, you could see it in the mirror. Right now, there is Austin outside, and of course, you can see it in the driving mirror. That's how mirrors work. But that's not what Shankaracharya means. So you have to work with Shankaracharya here with the example. He says, Nijantargatam. It's within the mirror. Forget the city outside the mirror. That will spoil the example. You say, why use such an example? Well, you didn't have computer screens or laptops or things like that at that time. They had mirrors. So imagine just the mirror and the city in the mirror. Forget the city outside. Similarly, you as consciousness, we as consciousness, and the whole universe arising in consciousness. Not something outside being reflected in consciousness. Nijantargatam, within yourself. And then he gives another example to make it clear. He says, Yatha nidraya, as in a dream, appearing as if outside, bahiriva udbhutam. In a dream, what happens? You fall asleep and you go out and then you remember, you have a dream, you don't remember that you are dreaming. It seems like a waking experience. And then we walk and we talk and we meet people, we go to places, we have pleasant and unpleasant experiences. And then we snap out of it and we realize, oh, it was a dream. I was dreaming. Now, in the dream, which is clearly inside us, in our minds, in our brains, but what does it feel like inside the dream? It feels it's outside, just like this. It feels, I am here and you are there. In our dream also it feels like that. It doesn't feel like it's all inside me. It feels like I am also here and there's a world and there are people outside. Just like this waking experience. So he says, Bahiriva udbhutam. Example, how could something be within you and yet appear outside? Like a dream. As when you are sleeping and dreaming. He says, Yatha nidraya. Just like that, Pashyan Atmani Mayaya, in the self, in pure consciousness. Because of Maya, you are seeing this universe. You might say, all right, I am pure consciousness. Why am I seeing anything at all? So it's because of Maya. We'll explain on. We'll go into that later on. So notice, he has given two examples here. And we will use those examples to understand Advaita, non-duality. One is the mirror example, one is the dream example. And then he says, when one wakes up, yas sakshat kurute, prabodha samaye, at the time of waking up, you see that this self, pure consciousness, is a non-dual reality. Atmani, yas sakshat kurute, prabodha samaye, at the time of waking up, one directly experiences swatmanam eva dvayam. One realizes this self to be non-dual. What does that mean? Also we will see. To such a one who is also appearing as the Guru and who also appears as Dakshinamurti, the south-facing Shiva, giving us this knowledge, my salutations. Three are there already. The one who becomes enlightened, the disciple, the seeker, us. and the Guru who is giving us this knowledge. The Guru stands here for the Upanishads. And God of this universe, the creator, preserver, destroyer of the universe, who out of grace is imparting this saving knowledge to us, Dakshinamurti Shiva. All three. They are all one reality, and I bow down to that reality. Now, on this beautiful hymn of Shankaracharya, there is a commentary written by one of Shankaracharya's disciples, Sureshwaracharya. He wrote a commentary called the Manasollasa Vartika. It's in verse form, and each of these verses composed by Shankaracharya, Sureshwaracharya writes dozens of verses explaining each verse. That's why we understand the depth and the nuances of Shankaracharya's teaching, thanks to Sureshwaracharya's Manasollasa Vartika. Just as Vartika is a form of sub-commentary. So Shankaracharya is the commentator, Bhashyakara. Bhashya is a commentary. Shankaracharya, in our tradition, in Advaita Vedanta tradition, Shankaracharya is called, if you go to Himalayas, they'll say Bhagavan Bhashyakara, the Lord commentator. Who's the Lord commentator? Shankaracharya. But in the same tradition, Sureshwaracharya, who wrote sub-commentaries on Shankaracharya's works, he is known as the Vartikakara. So Vartika is a kind of, it's a technical word. What does a Vartika, what does a sub-commentator do? He says, Uktan Ukta Dhuruktancha. What does it mean? Whatever Shankaracharya has said, I will endeavor to explain. Whatever Shankaracharya has left out, left unsaid, I will fill up the blanks. Ukta Anukta. Durukta, those things which Shankaracharya has said, but they are difficult, controversial, difficult to understand, I will expand upon it, elucidate it. And that's the job of the Vartika. Why am I saying this? Sureshwara's, often Shankaracharya's this Dakshinamurti Stotra is studied along with Sureshwara's Manasollasa Vartika. And I bring this up because one of the beautiful verses composed by Sureshwaracharya on this first verse, which we just talked about, it goes like this. Ishvaro gururatmeti murti bheda vibhagine vyomavad vyapta dehaya dakshinamurtaye namaha. What does it mean? Ishvara, God. Guru, the teacher. Atma, the self. You, I. These are three different forms of one sky-like, all-pervasive, limitless reality called Dakshinamurti. I bow down to that. So, Advaita Vedanta is, if nothing else, it's a teaching of oneness, that we are one reality. What appears as the teacher, and behind the teacher, the lineage of teaching, the knowledge, Upanishads, and the God of this universe, the God of religion, and you or I, the seeker, the spiritual seeker, we are all actually three forms of one reality. And that reality is Dakshinamurti. To get a little technical here, by the way, this verse is important. Why? Because if you go to study Vedanta in the Himalayas or in the Vedanta schools, in many places, all Vedanta teaching starts with this verse. Ishvaro, they will all chant, monks and devotees sitting together. I have also done that in Uttar Kashi and other places. Haridwar, Ishvaro gururatmeti murti bheda vivagine vyoma vadvyapta dehaya dakshinamurtaye namaha. Among the number of verses which will be chanted before a class, this is chanted. To get a little technical, there is a concept called upadhi. Upadhi literally means something that comes close to another entity and appears to transfer its qualities to the other entity. Now suppose here is a bottle of water. So this looks transparent, not entirely transparent, it's got a blue band around it. But anyway, it's a bottle of water, it looks transparent. But if I put this orange cloth behind it, now look at it, it should look orange to you. Okay? Now this orange cloth is called the upadhi. It comes close to this transparent bottle of water and appears to transfer its orange color to the colorless water. Let me repeat that. What does an upadhi do? It comes close. I'm translating the Sanskrit. Upa samipe sthitva suyan gunan adhatte upadi. Coming close, it appears to transfer its orange color into the essentially colorless water. If it was a red cloth, it would look red. If it was a blue cloth, it would look blue. The important thing to remember is whether it looks orange or red or blue, at no time is the water orange or red or blue. It just looks like that. How does this help us? When it says God and you and the teacher, they are all different forms of one reality. What it means is Vyomavad Vyapta Deha. Just like the sky is all pervasive, there's this one all pervasive, limitless existence, consciousness, bliss. When the upadhi of a name and form, an activity called Guru appears, that limitless consciousness appears as the Guru, just like the colorless water appears to be orange. When another upadhi appears, the disciple, the name and form of the disciple appears, that limitless consciousness appears and behaves as a disciple. When God, the creator, preserver, destroyer of the universe, that's also name and form. When it arises as that cosmic being, it's the same limitless existence, consciousness, bliss, which appears as God. This is Advaita Vedanta. It says God, the world created by God, and the individual being inhabiting this world, all three are appearances of one fundamental reality, one non-dual reality. You are that reality. Or in terms of this verse, God, the Guru, and you, the seeker. You are three forms of the same reality. What is that reality? Pure consciousness. All right. Now, let's do a deep dive into this first verse. And it's easier for us because of two examples. We will first understand the example and then apply it to ourselves. We'll understand example 1. What's the example? The mirror. City in the mirror. And then apply it to ourselves and the world. Then we'll understand example 2. What's example 2? The dream. And then we'll apply it to ourselves and the world. Then we'll see what is bondage and how do you get liberation. And we will end with a salutation to Dakshinamurti. So that's what we have in the menu for the next half an hour. Okay. Here goes. Example 1. The mirror example. I think we have understood the example. In the mirror, the city appears. Yes, it appears reflected, but we have been instructed, Nijantargatam. Forget the external city. Look at the mirror and look at the city. If you look at the mirror, you will see streets and buildings and cars and the sky and birds. Whatever you see in the city, it's all there in the mirror. In the mirror. Now, we are asked to notice some features about this example. One feature. The mirror is the ground of the city experience. The mirror is the ground, the basis, the support of the reflected city. What do I mean by that? Wherever there is the reflected city, behind it is the mirror. Underneath is the mirror. Supporting it is the mirror. The reflected city, are we following? The example must be clear. Then only we can apply it. The reflected city, whether if you touch the building in the city, in that mirror, reflected city, you're touching the mirror. If you see a car moving there, it's actually the mirror. If you see the sky, blue sky and clouds, it's actually the mirror. So, wherever you see the reflected city, there is the mirror. It's true. It's a truism. Wherever you see a reflection in a mirror, the mirror must be there. If a reflection is there, mirror must be there. Is that clear? Any reflection. If it's something reflected in the mirror, if you're talking about the reflection, there the mirror must be. Whenever there is a reflection, then the mirror must be there. In the space of the city, it is pervaded by the mirror. The time when the city is reflected, that time the mirror must be there. And whatever is reflected, that must be the mirror only. So this is what I mean by the entire reflected city is supported by, grounded in, based on the mirror. Similarly, here is the big one, big claim. Our entire universe, experience of the universe, is based on consciousness. Whenever we experience anybody, anything at all, consciousness must be there. If you see something, consciousness is there. If you hear something, smell something, taste, touch something, consciousness is there. If you think something, if you feel something, if we understand something, if we remember something, if we enjoy, if we suffer, consciousness must be there. I remember the neuroscientist Dr. Anil said, so in one talk which I saw online, he said something quite simple and striking. He said, Deep Blue, the computer which played chess and beat chess grandmasters, IBM, constructed Deep Blue. I heard IBM was originally here in Austin many years ago. So they built Deep Blue, which defeated chess grandmasters. Now this neuroscientist, he said, notice, Deep Blue is smart. It can beat chess grandmasters. A mouse is not as smart as Deep Blue. It can't play chess and beat chess grandmasters. But Deep Blue cannot suffer. A mouse can suffer. Mouse, if you see a cat catching the mouse, it suffers. Consciousness gives us the ability to experience joy, suffering. So whenever we experience the universe, whatever we experience, consciousness is there. Just like reflected city, mirror is there. Similarly, you, the mirror of the universe, you, the consciousness, you are there whenever the universe is there, wherever the universe is there. If you're listening very carefully, you will see you're trying to pass off something very deep. Let me break it down into two claims. One is a simpler claim, one is a much deeper and profound claim, and heavier claim. The simpler, easier claim is, whenever we experience the universe or experience life, consciousness must be there. And that's easy because the definition, it's into the definition of experience. What's the definition of experience? What is experience? Consciousness plus an object is experience. What do you mean seeing something? Consciousness plus forms is seeing. What do you mean hearing something? Consciousness plus sounds is hearing. Yes, of course, the ear must be there, the mind must be there, it must be attentive, all of that must be there. But consciousness plus object is experience. So when I say, in all experience, consciousness must be there, it's a no-brainer. It's sort of tautological, built into the definition of experience. This should not be a problem. So whenever we are experiencing the universe, whenever we are experiencing life, wherever we are experiencing the universe, wherever we are experiencing life, consciousness must be there. And that includes external life and so-called internal. What do I mean external life? This is external to me. What do I mean internal life? Thoughts, feelings, emotions, ideas, my inner first-person experience. All of that, the ground must be consciousness. There is a deeper claim. Not only when we are experiencing universe, this entire universe, whatever it is, even the part which we are experiencing and the vast part which we don't seem to be experiencing right now, we don't seem to be knowing it, all of it is actually appearing to consciousness, in consciousness, and nothing but consciousness. That's a huge, huge claim. And we'll circle back to that later. But that second one is what Shankaracharya is saying actually. The entire universe is an appearance in consciousness, which you are. Your known universe and the unknown universe. All of it is an appearance in consciousness, which you are. Just like the city is an appearance, is a reflection in a mirror. Wherever universe, there you are the consciousness. Whenever universe, then you are the consciousness. Whatever is the universe, there you are the consciousness. Huge claim. Now, the next part of it. City in the mirror. What is staring at us in the face is, there is no city in the mirror. After all, isn't it true? In the mirror, what's there? Mirror. Are there buildings in a mirror? Is there a sky in a mirror? Are there birds in a mirror? Are there cars in a mirror? No, those are reflections. In the mirror, there is only the mirror. There is nothing else but the mirror. Is that true or not? Are you with me? I don't want to rush this, but I hope this is making sense. For some people, it's obvious. Get on with it, you'll think. Move on. For other people, they look mystified. What's this? All this on mirrors and consciousness and. The claim is The universe is experienced in consciousness like a city reflected in a mirror. Just like there is no city in a mirror, it's an appearance. There is no universe in consciousness, it's an appearance. This is the central teaching of Advaita Vedanta. Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya. Brahman is the reality. Consciousness is the reality. And the things which appear to consciousness, they are exactly that, appearances. Like the philosopher Bradley said, reality never appears. What appears is not real. You, the consciousness, are real. The world is an appearance in you. That's the second big claim. Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya. Mirror is real, reflection is a reflection. Consciousness, you, the consciousness, are real. What you experience in consciousness is exactly that, an appearance in consciousness. Normally we don't think that way. We think, here is a real body. Yeah, in this there is a mind and something called consciousness, I agree. But there is a real world out there, and I'm experiencing this real world in me, the consciousness. Vedanta reverses that. You are awareness, everything is experienced as arising in awareness. Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya. Mirror Satyam, city Mithya. Mithya means false, appearance. You the Satyam, your world the Mithya. Already the applications are amazing. One man goes to a Swami, non-dualist teacher, and says, I have so many problems. And the teacher harshly says, I don't care. I don't care. That's cruel. You don't care about my problems? No, I care about you, not your problems. After all, the non-dualist would say, what you call your problems is an appearance in you. You are the reality. The problems are not the reality. We are not denying reality. You are forgetting your own reality. And compared to that, see, we forget ourselves and the problems assume enormous proportions. Very difficult to deal with it. Yes. So you are the reality in which this world, the universe appears. Consciousness reality, and the appearance is false. The appearance is an appearance. Third feature, third implication of this city in the mirror. Whatever happens in the reflected city does not affect the mirror. If there's I just experienced my first Hurricane Beryl in Houston. I was in Houston just before this. You're saved. The last program I did in Houston, no electricity. It's dark and hot. And we didn't stop. We went on with our Vedanta until darkness covered everybody. Everybody was covered in darkness and sweat, and then we stopped. Then we had a candlelight dinner. But the hurricane in the city of Houston, if you reflect it in the mirror, there is no hurricane in the mirror, just as there is no city in the mirror. Will the city get wet if there is a flood? Will the mirror get wet if there is a flood in the city? No. If there is an earthquake in the city, will the mirror crack? No. Whatever happens in the reflected city does not affect the mirror, which is the ground, the support of that reflection. True or not? It's just like a movie. In a movie, if there's a huge explosion, the screen doesn't burn up. If there's a great cataclysmic flood, the screen doesn't get soggy or wet. Whatever appears in consciousness does not affect you, the consciousness. That's a tremendous implication. Whatever appears in consciousness, good or bad, stupendous or insignificant, painful or pleasurable, does not in the least affect your nature as consciousness. You are perfectly all right. In the midst of all sorts of experiences. The Vedantin would say, look, all the trials and tribulations which every one of us we have gone through. So all those things have disappeared back into memory and to the past, and they've just literally gone. You are still here. We are still here. And we would go further and say, lifetimes have come and gone. Bodies have been born and bodies have died. Fathers and sons and mothers and daughters and husbands and wives and kings and paupers. You have seen them all, and all have disappeared into the darkness of time. You are still here. That shows all of these experiences do not leave a scratch on you. In our essential nature, I am not saying that the body will not get hurt. I am not even saying that the mind will not get upset. But you are neither the body nor the mind, remember. This consciousness, which is the witness consciousness, it is not affected, just like the mirror is not affected. And so this is grand actually. This is where Advaita Vedanta gives its benefits. If we were to realize, make this shift, which shift? From here to here. All problems are here. No problem here. If I am this one, then I am beyond problems. I am not denying the problems in the body. Sri Ramakrishna, I always give this example. When he was passing away from throat cancer, 1886, and his young disciple, Hari, comes and asks him, "Sir, how are you today?" And he says, "I can't eat." He's feeble and dying. It hurts here. The young man saw something which made him say, "But sir, I see you are in great bliss." It's a strange thing to say to a dying cancer patient in obvious pain. And Sri Ramakrishna replies, "Oh, the rascal, he's found me out. You've got me. You got me." And the Americans would say, "You got me." Which means he agrees, yes, there is a deeper level of being where I'm fine. The mirror is not affected by the happenings in the reflected city. Consciousness, I, the awareness, being awareness, Sat Chit, I am not affected by what's happening in the body. The body is falling apart. It's sick and dying. I'm alright. I'm not sick, nor am I dying. Not as a positive affirmation, as a fact. That young man, he later asked a little more in detail. He asked Sri Ramakrishna. In Bengali, he says, "Apnar ki eshob anubhav hoy? Do you feel it?" Let me ask you more precisely. This cancer, this pain, do you feel these things? Do you feel it and yet somehow you are beyond it? Or you don't feel it at all, like some kind of spiritual anesthesia, I don't feel it. Sri Ramakrishna's answer was very, it's amazing. It shows what spirituality can actually do and what it cannot do. So he says, "What are you talking about? Does the body ever become spiritual? It's the mind which becomes spiritual." And he stopped. And then that young man, later he became Swami Turiyananda, he explains. He says, the suffering is there, but I don't feel it. Like I have taken some anesthesia, I don't feel it, I'm sitting quiet. He says, he says, that is dumbness, that's stupidity, that's not spirituality. Everything that happens in life, you feel it, just like everybody else. And yet, somehow, spirituality enables you to transcend it. That's spirituality. And what Sri Ramakrishna says is applies not only to non-dual spirituality, it can apply to dualistic, to devotional spirituality also. My faith and belief and love of God is so intense, it doesn't matter what happens in this little body. But this non-dual spirituality is, I am this limitless awareness, I see in my limitless awareness self, there is no cancer, there is no pain, there is cancer in the body, in the throat. And the physical body with the subtle body is feeling the pain. All of that is also possible because I am consciousness. Without that, this even experience of the body and experience of cancer also wouldn't be possible. So I am being in the middle of this cancer-ridden body, I transcend it. That's the meaning of transcendence. Not wipe out the experience of the world. The mirror is free of the reflected city even when the city is being reflected. Does that make sense? Similarly, you are free of samsara as pure consciousness even when experiencing samsara. What an amazing thing. What an amazing thing. That's why the Swami said, I am not interested in your problems, I am interested in you, making a gap between your problems and yourself. One final point. This is the most profound of all. The mirror is non-dual with respect to the reflected city. Mirror is non-dual with respect to the reflected city. What do I mean by that? The mirror and the city, they are not two. They are not two. You can't count them. I am saying mirror and the city as if they were two. But they are not two. They seem to be two things. There is a mirror and there is a city. But they are not two. Because the appearance cannot be counted along with the reality. When you look at the mirror, what's there? When you look at the reflected city, what's there? You can count, you can take an inventory. There are 10 cars and 20 people and 5 buildings and 1 bird flying in the sky and 2 clouds. But if you say there is a mirror, then you can't count. There's a mirror and there are 5 buildings and 10 people. No, you can't count that way. If there's a mirror, there's only the mirror. And all of these things are appearances in the mirror. They're reflections in the mirror. Similarly, consciousness with respect to the world which appears in consciousness, the body which appears in consciousness, you, the consciousness, are non-dual with respect to your universe. That means this universe and other people and the body, they are not apart from you. They look like different things, different people. They are all one with you. The entire universe is one with you. All the people. Also the people you don't like. Everybody is one with us. All the time. And always have been. In the sense, it's not everybody squished together into one mass, No. It's that we are limitless awareness in which these differences are appearing. In the Gita it is said, Avibhaktam cha bhuteshu vibhaktam iva cha sthitam. Undivided in all sentient beings, appearing as if divided. Krishna teaches Arjuna. That undivided in all sentient beings, that consciousness you are. Non-dual. These are the various features of you, the consciousness, with respect to the world which appears in you. Now let's take up the dream example. Exactly the same. But 2 examples make the case stronger. In the dream, imagine we have forgotten that we are sleeping and then a whole dream world appears. And lo and behold, I am in my own dream. In the dream world there are objects and there is a subject also who experiences. Both are part of the dream. And both are appearing in the dreamer, in the mind of the dreamer. That dreamer is forgotten. Then only dream is possible. There is lucid dreaming also, but generally, lucid dreaming usually breaks. But the dreamer is forgotten and the dream appears. Okay, same thing. Where, just like the mirror example, wherever there is a dream, whatever you see in the dream, the dreamer must be there, underlying it, the dreamer's mind must be there. You can't have something left over from a dream and the dreamer is not dreaming it. No, only when you're dreaming it, the dream will be there. You can't have pizza in the dream. Time to wake up now. Let me put the pizza in the dream fridge. And then tomorrow I'll come, again dream and open the dream fridge and eat the dream fridge. No, they will not exist without the dreamer. They will not exist without you, the dreamer, dreaming the dream. When you stop, everything in the dream is gone. So wherever you are, the dreamer, there, wherever the dream is, you, the dreamer, must be there. If you are not there, if you wake up, dream is gone. Just like the mirror and the reflected city. Exactly like that, you, the consciousness, that's in the dream. In the waking here, you and I, the one consciousness, the entire world appears in that consciousness. This consciousness, like the dreaming mind, is the support of the dream world, the basis of the dream world, the ground of the dream world. Here, now, consciousness is the basis of the experienced universe, the support of it, the ground of it. Subtle point here. Somebody recently sent me a Scientific American magazine article. Nice articles are being written. All the time you'll find consciousness is a hot subject now, hot topic. And the 2 kinds of articles you see continuously coming up is, one kind is consciousness explained. This group of neurons or that kind of parallel processing or whatever this consciousness is. I call them all articles, they all are saying consciousness explained away. No explanation. There you will see one jump. They'll talk about neurons or some kind of parallel processing or something going on and then quickly take a jump to consciousness. This is consciousness. How? And the other kind is saying that, consciousness cannot be reduced to the functioning of the brain. So somebody sent me an article which says, waking state is reality. There is no further state to wake up from here. It seems to go against the Advaitic teaching. This is a misunderstanding of the Advaitic teaching. Advaita, follow this carefully. Advaita is not saying it's like a dream. You wake up from the dream into the waking state. The dream disappears, now you are in the waking state. Advaita is not saying that there is a further enlightened state into which you wake up. The waking will disappear and there will be an enlightened, some other state. No. The dream is used as an example. What will happen is that here in this waking state, we will wake up to the realization that we are consciousness, that we are the Atman. We are this limitless awareness. Right now we seem to be very limited. This is all separate from me, I am separate. So this limitlessness of ourself, we will wake up to that right here. Waking up is a way, it's not that this world will disappear, body will disappear and something else will appear. That's a new state. Now I am enlightened, I've woken up to an enlightened. No, you haven't. You're probably high. Not here, in Manhattan. Around this time, many people are high. No. So, you notice the errors people fall into. That, aren't you suggesting that you wake up from the waking, just like you came from the dream to the waking state, now from the waking to an enlightened state? No. From the waking state of ignorance that I am the body-mind, in this waking state itself, you will realize whatever the state is, I am awareness. Whether waking or dream or deep sleep. That is the second characteristic. Reflection is not real, mirror is real. Similarly, dream is not real. You, the dreamer, are real. That's what we realize when we wake up. What do we say? Oh, it was a dream. If it was a horrible dream, we would wake up and say, oh, thank God it was a dream. If it was a pleasant dream and you became rich in your dream and said, oh, it was a dream, too bad. Exactly in the same way, you, the pure consciousness, are the reality, and what appears in you, Jagat Mithya. It's not real. Just like the contents of the dream. The fact that you dreamt is not false. But the contents, the happenings of the dream are falsified when you wake up. Similarly, the happenings, the contents of this universe are falsified. They won't disappear when you wake up. Wake up to that I am awareness right now. If you see, the problem with the dream example is when you wake up from the dream disappears. But this is cancelled by the mirror example. The mirror example, when you realize those things are reflections in the mirror, the reflections don't disappear. You realize it's the mirror and the reflections continue to appear. So when you realize I am limitless consciousness, the world will continue to appear. But now you realize the world is an appearance in you. Nijantargatam. In means not physically. Sureshwaracharya, in one of his Vartika shlokas written here, he says, just as when he says, Kukshigatam annam, he says, just as you eat rice, that which is separate from you, eat it. It is now in your tummy and it's part of you, you say. Similarly, after enlightenment, you have eaten up the universe. And it sounds crazy, but it's true. It's you. The universe is you. It has no existence apart from you. And it's an appearance. It's not even real. You are the reality. Then the next is whatever happened in the dream doesn't affect you. Good or bad? You say, oh, it was a dream. Similarly, whatever happens in this universe, in life, does not affect you as the pure consciousness. Not body or mind, that gets affected. And finally, the non-duality. Just as the mirror is non-dual with respect to the reflection, you, the dreamer, you are non-dual with whatever you dreamt of. When we wake up, we realize whoever we saw in the dream, wherever we went in the dream, and whatever we experienced in the dream, they're nothing apart from me, the dreamer. I alone appeared as that world in the dream. I appeared as all the objects in my dream, and I appeared as the subject in the dream. And I appeared as the subject experiencing the dream subject experiencing the dream objects. Similarly here, you cannot say, yeah, I met 10 people in the dream, so when we were talking, there were 11 of us, I, the person, and there were 10 people, and then 12th one, I, the dreamer also. No, if you count you, the dreamer, then all those 12 people, the 11 people all those 11 people, the 10 people you met, and you, the 11th, the subject in the dream, they're all nothing but you, the dreamer. I give this example. Cookies, or more my favorite, laddus. So I eat a laddu, which is Indian sweet. And it's nice. Then at night I dream about it. I eat 3 more. It'll horrify the doctor with so much sugar. But in the morning, do I have to report a guilty report to the doctor? I had 4 laddus, 1 before I went to sleep and 3 more in my dream. No, luckily I don't. Because the 3 dream laddus need not be counted with the waking laddu. The laddu eaten in the waking state. It is one and non-dual. Similarly, whatever is seen in the dream is nothing apart from the dreamer. Whatever we experienced in the universe is nothing apart from you, the consciousness. Just as the dreamer is non-dual with respect to the contents of the dream, you, the pure consciousness, you are non-dual with respect to the contents which appear in consciousness. So though we use fingers like this, pure consciousness and physical body, subtle body, causal body, they are all appearances in this one. It's just for teaching we say this. It's not that this is separate, these are all separate. Don't misunderstand the chin mudra. The reality would be this, a very American mudra. Yes, this is the reality. This one non-dual reality I realize when I wake up. When we wake up from the dream, prabodha samaya, at the time of waking up, what do I realize? Swatmanameva dvayam. I realize I, the one who was dreaming, is non-dual with respect to whatever went on in the dream. Because they are not separate things apart from me. They are all me. Similarly, when the enlightened one, when the person becomes enlightened, the spiritual seeker, we become enlightened. We realize all of this which seems separate. Yes, they are all separate with respect to the body. With respect to the mind also they are all separate. But with respect to limitless awareness in which all of them are appearing, they are not separate. Everybody is one with me. The universe is one with me. So that non-duality of the self, swatmanameva dvayam, that I am non-dual consciousness, this becomes clear to me, blazingly obvious to me. So this is the essence of the teaching. That non-dual consciousness which I realize I am that aham brahmasmi, I salute it. Tasmai, the one who realized I am non-dual consciousness, and the non-dual consciousness appearing as the Guru, and the non-dual consciousness who is Dakshinamurti, I salute that one non-dual consciousness. So that's the meaning of the whole, that first verse. Just couple of points here. One minor point, namaha, salutation. Namaha means I salute. Now this works in 2 ways. As I said, many Hindus, devout Hindus, they chant the Dakshinamurti daily. You can do that. Instead of going into all this consciousness, non-duality thing, God is Dakshinamurti, I pray to and I adore and worship Dakshinamurti. Then namaha means worship, adoration, reverence. There it means na mama. Nama means na mama, not mine. The Mahabharata says, mama iti dvayaksharam mrityuhu. Mama means mine in Sanskrit. And the Mahabharata says, the 2-syllable death is mine. I am mine. Shankaracharya in his commentary says, ahamiti mameti. Ignorance is, I am this and all this is mine. Those are not mine, but I'll try to make it mine. This is the nature of ignorance. Mahabharata calls it death. Why? Because we are grasping what is not ours. If you are devoted, God-oriented, then it's given, it's the Lord has created all of this. It belongs to the Lord. The entire universe belongs to the Lord. Our bodies belong to the Lord. Our very life belongs to the Lord. Even the mind which we are using, speech, all of it belongs to the Lord. And when you say I and mine, we are stealing, we are appropriating what doesn't belong to us. If you are not all that theistically oriented, suppose a Buddhist would say even that is also this I and mine is a great obstacle towards enlightenment in Buddhism, because you are catching hold of something which cannot be caught hold of. It is continuously changing. Impermanent, all is impermanent. Then momentary, all is momentary. Empty, all is empty. Therefore, if you try to catch it as I and mine, suffering, all is suffering. Anityam, sarvam anityam. Kshanikam, sarvam kshanikam. Shunyam, sarvam shunyam. Therefore, if you catch hold of that, Dukkham, dukkham, sarvam dukkham. But if you realize that underlying reality, that is one limitless existence, consciousness, bliss, I am, then it's not suffering. Remember, the Buddhas and the enlightened ones, the Jivan Muktas, the masters of all religions, they lived in this impermanent world, in this display, and they were happy. So this display, this samsara itself, by itself is not a problem. It's our ignorance, the I and mine, and that is denied by namaha. Namaha means na mama, not mine. I devoutly say, all this is yours, O Dakshinamurti. That's the devout approach, devotional approach. But the non-dual approach, the approach of knowledge will be, when you say namaha, I say all these upadhis, this body and mind, this personality, not me or mine. I am shifting my identification from this to awareness. I am shifting my identification from the city to the mirror. I am shifting my identification from the dream subject and object to the dreaming underlying dreamer. Then Tasmai Shri Guru, then it becomes knowledge, it becomes non-dual knowledge. This is the first point. It's a minor point. Even deeper point is this. In Vedanta, the whole thing is summed up by what is called Mahavakya, the profound sentences, the great sentences. The whole Upanishadic statement, teaching can be summed up. That thou art, Tattvamasi, Chandogya Upanishad. Or Aham Brahmasmi, I am Brahman, Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Or I am Atma Brahma, this very self is Brahman, Mandukya Upanishad. Or the Prajnanam Brahma, pure consciousness. Of consciousness is Brahman, Aitareya Upanishad. Or many other statements, they are all identity statements. Now here also underlying, under the hood, you might ask what's happening in this Dakshinamurti Stotra. The identity statement is there. The first verse introduces us to our nature as non-dual consciousness. This is what we did now. Non-duality of consciousness. And the second verse tells us how this universe appears in non-dual consciousness. The whole thing about Maya and all. And then the third verse brings them together. The reality behind this universe, the reality behind this one body, mind, personality, it's Tattvamasi. It's actually mentioned in the third verse, Tattvamasi. So, the first verse is Tvam, you, your nature. The second verse is Tat, that. The third verse will tell us Asi, is. This universe and you're not different. We make a difference by identifying, saying I and mine with one bit of this universe and then pushing out the rest as the other. Advaita makes it one and non-dual. Could go on explaining, but I think questions are much better way of dealing with, it's much more interesting. So let me do a peace chant, then we will take questions. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. Alright, how do we do this? Should we have microphone? There's a microphone here. Yeah, so the volunteers can raise their hands. The people, you can stand in the aisles and the people can line up. Yeah, you can just come here, let people come to you. You raise your hands. Yeah. Yeah, please come. Please line up. Come up to the microphones and you can line up. I'll ask you. Line up behind each other. So you're there, you're here. Yeah, tell us your name and ask the question. Then we'll go to that side. Yes.
Thank you, Swamiji. It was very enlightening. I have a standing doubt in my mind,
yes,
which is that I understand what you just said, that we are the super consciousness, Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. But my biggest concern is when you make the rest of the world or even you as an appearance, how much value do you give to pain, suffering of the people? Because I think living in this world, you want to value them, right? So when you call it an appearance, it starts, you think this is real, the consciousness is real, but everything else is not that real, it is an appearance.
Yes, that's right. Now you follow that up carefully. Notice you say, this is real, everything else is not real. No, that's the wrong way of understanding it. Notice I'm pointing to the body. That's where Advaita becomes dangerous. I have learned the universe is an appearance. So this universe is it's a dream. I am real. Who? Me. Here, this fellow. That cannot work. If the universe is an appearance in consciousness, so is this body. So is this individual person. Then what am I? I am the underlying consciousness. Of what? Underlying consciousness of what? Not only this body and mind, of all bodies and minds. And therefore, after enlightenment also, the enlightened one eats when hungry, puts medicine if necessary, talks to people. As the problems of the body are dealt with, you will now feel the sufferings of all others, you will sympathize much more. Earlier what happened was, my own problems are maximally important to me. I know people are suffering in some distant corner of the world. If I have leisure and I'm relaxed, oh, so bad. But if I've stubbed my toe, I forget all of that. This is very important to me. Because of my strong identification with this. But I feel I am the one awareness in all bodies and minds. In that case, the hunger of that one is as important to me as the hunger of this one. If I'm feeding this body, I should also feed that body. Remember, appearance means bodies and minds are appearances. The worldly objects are appearances. But consciousness is not an appearance, it's the reality. So the being which is suffering there, as Anil said, even a mouse can suffer. The being which is suffering there, that consciousness there is real and it's me. That's why Swami Vivekananda extended this argument. And he says, Shiva Jnana Jiva Seva, which he learned from Sri Ramakrishna. Then you see the divinity in all beings. How? The divinity which you find within yourself. Since all are one with you, they are all, the divinity is there in everybody. And so our efforts to ameliorate the sufferings of others, to feed the hungry. Vivekananda says, my God the hungry, my God the sick, my God the ignorant, and goes on to say, my God the wicked. And what is my worship there? My worship is to feed the hungry and heal the sick and give education to the ignorant and try to bring up and reform the quote-unquote wicked. That all becomes spiritual practice because you feel that oneness with them. So oneness becomes the basis for morals and the basis for selflessness, unselfishness also. Yeah. Thank you. Yes. Tell us your name and ask. Anybody else? Don't be shy. You can come up and ask questions. Yes, please come. Please come. Others also can line up. Yes.
My name is Shiva.
Yes.
I have a question in your speaking example and also the dream example.
Yes.
So let's maybe take the dream example. So the dreaming characters need the dreaming self is there and wake up and dreamer, right? So none of those dreaming characters are going to realize, wait a minute, I'm not real, okay? I'm just naked kind of thing.
Yeah.
My reality is this dreamer guy who's sleeping, or whatever, the dreamer, the actual dreamer, right? So in that sense, how is this entity which is this body mind, how is it going to turn that identification that I, how do I go from I the mind, I the body, I the ego, and become I the infinite consciousness? How do I, because it's never, the finite mind is never going to realize the infinite.
True. So but notice one thing, that you, the person in your dream, you are lying down and dreaming, so you are the dreamer. But in your dream also you are present as a subject, person in the dream. Now that person will realize that I am the waker. Well, what happens is the waker wakes up, and the dreaming self wakes up and realizes I was not that. How can that happen? That can happen only when you wake up from the sleep. In our example, how can it happen here? In your dream example, how can that happen? Only by waking up. The dreamer will wake up and realize that it was all a dream, and that person in the dream also is not real, and all the persons I saw in the dream are not real. I alone became all of that. So all of that becomes me, the waking person. That's the dream example. And that can happen. How will that happen? Only by waking up, as we wake up from the sleep. Here, how will it happen? That's an example. But in the case of this world, how will you wake up? How will we wake up to our nature as pure consciousness? So there the problem was sleep and the solution was waking up. Here the problem is ignorance and the solution is knowledge. That's why the Guru Murti, Dakshinamurti, Guru Murti is very important. Here we are not physically sleeping. Here we are awake now. But it is like sleep. Yatha nidraya, like sleep. Follow this. What does sleep do? It covers your, as it were, your identity as the sleeper. I am sleeping in the bed, I am in this room. That is forgotten. So it does that. And then because of that forgetting, it projects you, the mind, it projects a dream world which could not exist. You cannot think that I am having a cup of tea in a cafe in New Delhi and also I am sleeping here in my room in Dallas, in Austin. Both cannot go together. You have to forget that you are in Austin and sleeping. Then only that I am in New Delhi and having a cup of coffee will work. So, in this case, what happens is, what role sleep plays. Sleep covers your existence as the sleeper in Dallas. Austin. It covers your role as the sleeper in Austin. Here, ignorance covers my nature as pure awareness. I am not aware. I am aware that I am aware, but I don't want to call it Dakshinamurti or pure consciousness. Yeah, I am just aware, that's all. I don't know what it is. It's covered by ignorance. And then ignorance projects this very limitless consciousness as a limited, dualistic subject-object world. This one. And I always feel I am this fellow and all of this is my objective world. This is negated when I realize my limitless pure consciousness nature. Negated in the sense, this will still appear for the enlightened one. But the enlightened one will know I am one with all of this. And I am pure consciousness. I am not the body. Nor am I this body or that body. I am not this person or that person. All these so-called personalities are appearances in me, a limitless awareness. Yeah. That happens through knowledge. So, to boiling it down, the answer to his question, it's a good question. Is asking about the similarity between or dissimilarity between the dream example and enlightenment. What is bondage? What is enlightenment? In the dream, what is bondage? Forgetting that you are sleeping. That you are in bed and sleeping. That is covered. Here, what is bondage? Forgetting your limitless consciousness. Forgetting means not knowing, basically. Not forgetting, technically not knowing, ignorance. And then a dream is projected on the basis of that. Similarly, here samsara is projected on the basis of that ignorance. What is enlightenment? In the dream case, enlightenment is waking up. You get up from the dream and realize, oh, it was a dream. In this case, what is enlightenment? Knowledge. It comes that, oh, in one limitless awareness, subject-object are appearing. Not knowing that, I was in samsara. Knowing that, I am liberated from samsara. Yes.
Thank you. You answered part of the question that I had.
Tell us your name and ask the question.
Sorry about that. My name is Dakshinamurti. My question is continuing with what you just described. To remove this ignorance now, is it my effort or is it some sort of blessing that has to be given? But I think I have reached my level of effort to try to understand what you just explained. What happens from this point?
Yes. Our effort consists of three things. It is called Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana. Is to listen carefully, to study it carefully, and begin to understand it all what is being said. Once we have downloaded that information, it'll still have questions. Many things won't make sense. And so we need an answer to those questions. That arguing it out, talking it through, reasoning it out. Many books have these questions and answers. Plus, talk to others and the teachers. Then you get clarity about what you have studied. What we have heard and studied, we get clarity. Earlier you say, I have heard you. What you said, Dakshinamurti Stotra, I know, I can tell you that I have memorized the whole verse, the whole Stotra, I can tell you I have the information, but I don't understand it. Now you can say, I know the teaching and I understand it also. But still not a living teaching for me. And then you stay with what you have understood. We stay with what we have understood in what is called non-dual meditation. We'll do that tomorrow. We stay with what we have understood in non-dual meditation. Technical word, nididhyasana. At the culmination of that, it should become clear that, yes, I am this limitless awareness as a living fact. There's a word which I did not explain today, yas sakshat kurute, who directly experiences that I am this non-dual self. and nothing is apart from me. The direct experiencing, these are all loaded terms, so one has to carefully navigate one's way through them. In one sense, we are directly experiencing ourselves anyway, we just don't know what we are experiencing. And Vedanta gives us that. So, up to this is self-effort. Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana. Is grace necessary? All throughout. That we are here and studying this. See, that we had the intention. That is a sure sign of grace. Avadhuta Gita, it starts with Ishvara Anugrahadeva Pumsam Advaita Vasana. By the special grace of God comes this desire, this liking for non-duality. So this liking. Then we turn up for classes, we study the books, Shravana, that's also grace. And then we engage in it. Manana, Nididhyasana, that's also grace. And the final dawning of realization, that's grace too. So there is already grace. Sri Ramakrishna used to say that he lived near the Ganga. So you would see these little boats which unfurl the sail. The wind of grace is always blowing. Unfurl your sail. The poor fellow who has not unfurled the sail, that man is rowing the boat hard. The other one, he says, has unfurled the sail and he says, merrily relaxes back, blows on the hubble bubble, smokes the hubble bubble and holds the rudder while the boat sails along merrily, blown by the wind of grace. But for that you have to unfurl the sail. Unfurling the sail also is self-effort. And then you depend on grace. The form of grace, in fact, grace is very important in Dakshinamurti. It's basically divine grace. But without our self-effort, no grace from that side also. We are not unfurling the sail. There's also a beautiful teaching, not only non-dual teachers, all traditional Sanskrit Pandits will tell their students. Whatever you study, if you study it seriously, listen to the class, to take your notes and listen to YouTube lectures or whatever you do that, so that will give you the knowledge. That's only 1/4 of the knowledge. When you argue, you discuss, argue, ask questions, doubt it, put this knowledge through the test, and you get clarity about it. Grasp on it becomes very clear. That's only the 2nd quarter of the knowledge. You think you know it now, you're a master of it. No, it's the 2nd quarter. And then over the years when you teach, so it's the Pandits who tell that. So when you teach the students over the years, you get a 3rd quarter of the knowledge. And the 4th quarter, the completion of that knowledge, they say kalena, in time, in maturity and in time. And that's true of Advaita Vedanta also. Yeah. So you stay with it. Yes. Lady, and then come here.
Namaste Swamiji, Lonnie Rao from Houston. So I'm trying to apply practically the concept of sitting in the mirror. I find the more I study, the more irritation is increasing, and I'm finding people irritated. My question is, I need your help in what one can do to apply practically this concept of the oneness. So how do I transcend samsara while I'm experiencing samsara?
Yes. There are 2 ways of overcoming samsara. One, you can seek to wipe it out. So in samadhi, I'll sit in samadhi. The crude way of wiping it out is people drink themselves into insensibility. Yeah, that's right. They want to escape the troubles. That's why people go to all kinds of addictions and they want to wipe it out. They can't face it. Now, that's not a good way of doing it, because you'll see trouble just keeps on increasing. By running away, Vivekananda learned this lesson in Banaras, in Durga Mandir there. So there's those monkeys, and those monkeys are still there, and their descendants are. Lots of them. So they are pretty aggressive. They want a handout from you. They'll chase you. And Vivekananda was a young monk at that time, before he came here to the West. He ran from them, and a whole bunch of monkeys will follow you. They realize he's a softie. So they'll follow you, they'll chase you down. Until another old monk from a distance saw what was happening, and he shouted, "Face the brutes! Turn around, take a stand, face the brutes." The moment Vivekananda said, I stopped and looked around, they stopped too, and backed off carefully. So we have to face the brute at some time. Just trying to wipe it out, drugs or alcohol will not work. Now, another way, in a spiritual way, is I don't want to see the world. I want to be immersed in bliss, spiritual bliss. That's one way. But that is not transcending. That's like not seeing. Vedanta wants you to see in the middle of that, as Sri Ramakrishna says, I am experiencing pain, and yet I am also saying I am in bliss. How is that possible? The ordinary person in ignorance will say, I am in pain. That's it. There's no question of bliss. The enlightened one will say, yes, to all the facts of the world, including cancer and pain, but also a greater fact that I am this non-dual reality. So, in the middle of the world, experiencing everything, you must find the underlying reality, which is this oneness. Oneness is always good spiritual advice. All problem, as you said, irritation, comes from a strong sense of otherness. Oneness does not mean being foolish. So, Vivekananda's definition of humility. Humility does not consist in being a doormat. People tread all over you. Humility consists in seeing the greatness in the other. What a beautiful definition. So this is very much in line with non-dual Vedanta. You are Brahman, but the other one is Brahman too, and is one with you. All right. Thank you. We have one more question, yes.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth. So my question is...
Tell us your name.
Elizabeth.
Elizabeth.
Yeah, thank you. My question is really actually similar to Taz on what she was saying. It said if we see ourselves as oneness and limitless consciousness, and you're good when you're meditating and everything's great, but then as a householder you get out there and you have these same experiences that repeat themselves over and over. And if these are arising as appearances, but the same kind of theme, then how does one treat why that appearance is the same, if that makes sense?
Yes.
How am I supposed to take that and transmute that lesson that's, I don't know if I'm trying to teach that to myself by having that same experience, or if it's karma or what?
Now, what Advaita Vedanta is always start with yourself. Before we try to change the experience, change my life. Like Swami said, I'm not interested in your problems, I'm interested in you. Start with yourself. When we make this shift here, earlier I was looking at the experiences from here. I am this person Elizabeth, and these are my experiences. Now what you're saying is, in meditation, in class, when I think about it and try to stay with it, I am like this. I am the witness consciousness. But it does not follow me outside. When I come out of the class, when I come out of meditation, I'm again back there. And I'm dealing with life, those experiences, they come up again, those people, same kind of experiences, same patterns of behavior in other people and same patterns of behavior in me, and I'm still the same Elizabeth. Obviously, then you'll still suffer. How about, I am this witness consciousness, this one underlying consciousness. And now from that perspective, those people come, those experiences come, those patterns come, it will be all right then. And not only will it be all right, very soon the patterns of at least my own thinking in this mind, they will start changing. When the very nature of who or what I am is starkly different. I am the awareness which is not born. I am the impersonal awareness. Elizabeth is just the mask I am wearing right now. I am not this body. I was there before this body was born. I am not this mind. I am this awareness even when the mind was, say, a baby's mind, a child's mind, a teenager's mind, a young person's mind, a sleeping mind, a dreaming mind, a mind which is not alert and sleepy. In all these very different states of the mind, I am the one same consciousness. When this change comes from this to this, then you will see facing the challenges and problems of life become much easier. You have a much vaster sense of who we are. And then there is strength. Vivekananda says, in the Upanishads, I teach the Upanishads because there I find strength. Strength enough for humanity, to face the challenge of life. Yeah. Gentleman here. And that gentleman was before you? Yeah. Tell us your name and ask the question.
Beloved Swamiji,
No, wait, this person here.
My name is Vignesh.
Yeah.
So my question is like if a person gets enlightened, right? So it's like we can give an example of putting a drop back into an ocean and becomes oneness. But there is a chance that the same drop will get again back as with the ignorance and everything, right? So if you say that ignorance is meaningless, then we can. Even if the ignorance is meaningless, that means you are identifying some person in that, right? So only if you say if I get enlightened, and only if I have
I think I realize your question. If ignorance, if I am pure consciousness, at one point I was trapped because of ignorance. Well, that ignorance can come back again. The example you gave was, is it like a drop of water falling into the ocean and becoming one, but then that drop of water can again be evaporated and go back separated. So can we become enlightened and then unenlightened? Can we lose our enlightened status? Can that happen? The answer is no. Don't worry about it. The answer is no. Once we become enlightened, there's no going back. That's why I say don't be in a hurry to be enlightened, because it's not something you can return to the shop. It's done forever. Thank God, it's done forever. You might say, there are many, many answers to this. You might say, why? Why can't one be in ignorance? Once you realize that I am limitless awareness, and other than this limitless awareness, there's nothing else. It's non-dual. Everything else is an appearance. Where will ignorance come? Because I'm not a mind anymore. I'm not a body. Where will I die? The body dies, but I am not a body. I won't die. The mind had ignorance, but I'm not a mind. I am awareness. So logically also it will never come again. But I'll tell you what the traditional answer to such questions is. Once you have this teaching, then these questions will come. Where did ignorance come from? If it has come again, then will it come back again? And if my ignorance goes away, if Guru's ignorance has gone, why doesn't my ignorance go away? Is ignorance one or many? One sadhu, he said very nicely. I'll tell you, it's very nice Hindi. ये प्रपंच काहे को करते हो महात्मा जी? Why are you expanding this samsara like this? अंधकार है तो दिया जलाओ. If there is darkness, bring in light. Don't investigate. When did this darkness start? What is the relative thickness of this darkness? And if I do bring in the light, won't it come back again, the darkness? So the answer they gave in Uttarakhand, the sadhus they gave, I'll tell you in Hindi and then translate it. They say, अज्ञान को सिद्ध मत कीजिए महात्मा जी, अज्ञान को काटिए. Don't try to establish ignorance. Establish means with proofs and logic and all. Cut it down with knowledge. If ignorance were a very logical category, well established, then it would become real and it could not be removed by knowledge. Ignorance is a paradoxical category. As long as it is there, it seems to have all these effects. When you remove it, it's gone forever. Yeah. 2 more questions and we'll be done. I think we are out of time too.
Beloved Swamiji, known people at this meeting also. So, summary of the discussion today.
Question?
The universe is the realization of, deflection of the realization.
The universe is what?
The universe is the reflection of the realization.
The universe is like an appearance, like a city in a mirror. The universe is like that, in you, the consciousness.
And I am the center of the universe with my pure realization.
Be careful with that. I, Bimal, am the center of the universe. No, you're not. When we say such things, you have to be very careful. Because the ego wants to immediately capitalize on this knowledge. You have taught me. I am the most important one in this universe. I am God. Now you should all worship me. No, we're going to lock you up. You've gone crazy. Yeah, this is absolutely not non-duality. These are the dangers of non-duality. Immediately the ego takes it up as saying, okay, I am God. But so is everybody else. All right. Gentleman there and we'll come back. But that's... The question here is the last one today.
So you talked about consciousness, about like the example, I don't care about your problem, I care about you. And we have also a great story of Maya, like the prince dressed as princess.
Yeah, that's right. Princes of Kashi.
Yeah, so I'm leaving my home country, staying here, and somehow become the monk of monastery from Kathamrita. So how do you reality check that what the way I'm doing the right, but not doing
a good reality check. Swami Vivekananda gives 3 nice criteria. If it strengthens you, you can accept it. If it weakens you, reject it as poison. Whatever it is, physically, emotionally, morally, intellectually, if it weakens you, reject it as poison, he says. If it strengthens you, you can accept it. That's one criteria. Second criteria, if it makes you unselfish, it is likely to be true. If it makes you more selfish, it's likely to be false. Third criteria, if it divides, it's likely to be false. If it overall unites in the long run, then it's likely to be true. These are criteria. Don't apply them blindly. So in my life, am I becoming stronger? Am I becoming more selfless? Do I feel oneness with other people, or do I feel distanced and estranged? See, there is one correct way of understanding Advaita. I feel one with everybody. Wrong way of understanding Advaita. They are all false. They are all dreams. I am the only reality. Wrong. You are making a mistake. That I is likely to be the ego rooted in this body then. And that's delusion. That's not non-duality. Okay. The last question. Tell us your name and ask the question.
Namaste, Swamiji. My name is Sarv. I listened to one of your lectures recently in regards to inherent and incidental properties. I really loved it. And you gave an example about how fire has an inherent property of heat. And then when you put maybe a pan over that fire, the pan gets in the heat, which is an incidental property. You also mentioned that, and correct me if I'm wrong, I hope I'm remembering this correctly, you said that Maya is an inherent property of consciousness.
It is or isn't?
I believe you said it is. Is that correct?
No, it isn't.
Okay. Well, then maybe my question is solved.
Then I see the drift of your question. If there's something like an inherent property and some things which have inherent properties, they will never lose that inherent property. In that case, there's always Brahman with Maya. How do you overcome Maya, which is inherent to Brahman? No, this is just an example. Advaita goes a little beyond that. Like fire is an entity with some properties. But Brahman is not even an entity. And the world or Maya are not properties of Brahman in the sense, because Brahman is said to be Nirguna Brahman, attributeless, property-less Brahman. So it's not a property holder with some property, or an attribute holder with some attribute. It's not like a substance. The table is if you look at it in a way, substance quality way, it is wood and it is brown. So brown is the quality of the wood, the color of the wood. But Brahman is not like that. It's not like there's an entity called Brahman and it has the property of Maya. No. Brahman is existence itself. It's just the reality itself. And it appears in these ways. What appears is not a property. So, for example, the city in the mirror, that's a good example. The city in the mirror, the sky is blue, the buildings are grey, the road is black. The black roads, grey buildings and blue sky, are they properties of the mirror? No, they aren't. There are no skies there are no buildings there are no roads there. They are a reflection in the mirror. The reflection is not on the same level of reality as the mirror. Similarly, Maya is not at the same level of reality as Brahman. Brahman is the only reality, non-dual, and within it also there is no division as Brahman and Maya. Yeah. All right, these are good questions. Tomorrow we are going to go a little deeper. It will be more experiential. We'll try to get enlightened. Non-dual meditation will give it a fair spin. All right. Now, before I end, there's something that Anandji, when his very happy, energetic introduction at the beginning, even then he was too shy to mention, is that we need to support the Vedanta Center of Greater Austin. And I don't know why they are so diffident about asking for money. I am not. So I believe they have a counter outside where you can... A what? They've got Venmo. Donation box for checks, and checks should be made out to VCG, Vedanta Center of Greater Austin, yeah. Or Venmo. They are not particular. Also have, yeah, Zelle. So if you go to the counter, they'll help you. But please do give something. And it's traditional. In India, you turn up for spiritual teachings, you sit before the monk who's giving the talk or whatever it is, and when you leave something, like a gift. It's sort of customary. I remember in the Vedanta Society of New York, before COVID, there was this elderly gentleman, our senior most member, Bill, and he's 100, last week he was 100 years old. He would go around with a basket, actual bamboo basket, and collect, people would give usually $1. So, okay, I can't resist this. It's a pastor in California of a very nice church, something like this. She told me this, and she told the whole audience this thing when she was asking for funds. She said, there's a discussion between the $100 bill and the $20 bill and the $1 bill. So how did the summer go for you? And how was last year? And the $100 bill said, I just sat in the bank. In Wells Fargo. I was sitting there. The $20 bill said, I went from people to Costco and then to people again, then to Costco again. And the $1 bill I said, just went from church to church to church. When he got too old, Bill, to go around with the basket, people stopped doing the basket. They said, this day it's not necessary. We have internet and all those things and all the book. But I said, no. There's something about physically giving, even $1 in a basket. People will give on the internet and everything, so we reinstated the basket. So basket is back, still collecting $1 bills. So that's my appeal. Please do contribute towards programs such as this and supporting the Vedanta Center of Greater Austin. Take care, and we'll meet again tomorrow. Thank you so much. Thank you.